Lately, my BL watching has been very, very small. There have been two shows in particular that really caught my interest, and one of them I really want to talk to you about in today's podcast, which is Punk's Triangle. I believe this is a Japanese BL, and I think it has a really interesting concept, and I kind of want to dig in. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Art podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and so much more. That so much more includes BLs, and I admittedly have not been watching as many as I would like. I feel like a lot of them just haven't been catching my interest a lot. One that I've been watching that I think is really cute is School Trip, and I think it just has kind of the innocent sweetness that I'm looking for right now. I go through phases. Either I want like a super dark, super adult, mature BL, or I want something saccharine sweet, as long as there's genuine heart to it and it just doesn't make me cringe to all hell and beyond. But Punk's Triangle is my latest watch, and I really like this one for several reasons. But I think what is really intriguing to me is just the idea of how much fashion can be so transformative, and that it can quite literally transform your entire personality, that you can become entirely different person. And I love how Punk's Triangle speaks to, your hidden insecurities and tapping into like on stage personas. Like, I find that concept really fascinating, especially with like public figures, entertainers in general. Like, I'd like to think of like Beyonce and the alter ego that she used to have with like Sasha Fierce, something like that, where Beyonce herself, she is extraordinarily talented, larger than life, but just speaking to her like one-on-one, she comes across introverted and kind of reserved and a little bit shy. But on stage, you just have like that bombastic, like you have all this energy just kind of pouring out of you. So I kind of like tapping into different alter egos, and I like discussion points around that. And I think that was the fascinating draw for this show. And I think chemistry is just out of control. There's one scene in particular that has been going pretty viral online in regards to this show in particular. And if you've been watching it, you're probably already familiar with it anyways, but I'll probably talk about that a little bit later in the podcast, as far as just tackling the chemistry and just how much they have of it in this show. So we have two main characters in the show. We have Suminara, who is the main lead role, and then we also have Inaga, who has the alter ego of AE or AI, who is like this rock star punk enthusiast supermodel that has a huge, massive fan base. And our main lead character, Seminara, has a massive crush on him and also admires him a lot, and has a dream of one day being able to design clothes that AE or AI will get to wear on stage. So he's in this college where he is studying part-time to be this fashion designer. He's very prickly around the edges, our main lead, and he typically does not allow himself to get close to anyone. But then one day in the class, there is a new student that comes in, and he has a bucket hat. He's kind of dorky, extremely clumsy, and seems to cut himself a lot. And they end up having to be partners, kind of to Suminara's charge-in. He really doesn't like him that much and thinks he's kind of a loser. But they end up having to be partner up for a project for designing fashion wear for a very famous celeb that's not disclosed to the class at the time. We later as the audience come to learn that it will be the supermodel AE or AI who will be this surprise guest that will be wearing the winning group's design. Inaga, who is the supermodel who kind of goes undercover in this class, finds himself drawn to Suminara right away, and he is kind of grappling between these personas, and he really likes this main lead character, but he unfortunately has to hide his identity, and because of the nature of the competition, it's for his better interest to kind of just keep a low profile anyways. So there's about 6 episodes that I've watched of this thus far, and one of the earlier scenes that I was kind of hinting at earlier into introduction was they ended up in a club, and AE and AI, I always mix up the name for the supermodel persona of him. He kind of sticks his finger down Suminara's mouth, which I know that sounds, sus, but the show was really able to play with sensuality really well, which I was really surprised by. Like this scene, it's erotic, but it's erotic in a way that feels dirty. I feel like you shouldn't be enticed by that, but just how the show was able to kind of bring about the chemistry between the two leads, I feel like they do a lot of great things as far as like blocking and staging. The music that's used in the show, I think, is really great as well. And just the overall feel. And I think the actor in particular who portrays Inaga, he's able to tap into the alter ego so well that even though both personas look extremely similar, and you probably as a viewer watching are thinking, how does Suminara not know that this is his supermodel crush? This has been his idol for X amount of years. How could he not tell? But they are so different, and I think the actor does a really good job of differentiating between these two personas really, really well. And it's kind of like that thing with like Clark Kent and Superman. It's like, how can people not tell the difference? Like, it's only just glasses and a tie that differentiate between the two, but the personas are so incredibly different. The tonation of the voice, the mannerisms, the way they walk, the way they move in the room. Like when AI is on the stage and he is in like his supermodel baddie bag and he's walking on stage, you can just see the charisma just ooze out of his pores. Like he just has that magnetism and that sex appeal, and you could totally see how someone would be completely, utterly fooled by it. And I like the show kind of hints at it, but you find out pretty early on. And that's where kind of the title comes from, because there's this love triangle, and you have Inaga who is developing these feelings at a rapid pace for Suminara, and he feels so much confliction and guilt because the main lead, he's such a closed off character, and you could tell that it takes a lot for him to open up and be vulnerable to people. And then once you actually get past those walls and those barriers, you should consider yourself someone special, because once they open up, they just reveal like a whole other side, and you just kind of fall in love with them. And that's kind of the process that you see in the show. I had just finished watching episode 5, and this is quite literally what happens, where Suminara, he starts to confide more in Inaga and about his like family history, the breakdown of his parents' marriage, and how that kind of made him isolated and made him a lot more insular, and how he was more afraid of like opening himself up to people because the divorce was pretty heavy, and it completely blindsided him. And as he interacts going into adulthood and becoming this fashion designer that has a particular interest in this like punk, dark gothic aesthetic, he really keeps to himself. And having this kind of tall, klutzy guy kind of crash headfirst into his life, you can see just how much he softens up and is so vulnerable to him. And I think in those last moments in episode 5, if I'm going to spoilers, sorry, but I just like the show and I just wanted to get it off my chest. When he's like lying in the bed with him and he kind of has his arms around him, and Suminara is just crying, and he's like, when I met AI, we were getting off really well. We were on the same footing, and I don't know if because I kind of got drunk, I got a little tipsy, I threw up, kind of embarrassed myself in front of him. And he was kind of messaging me on the low key. He was in the DMs, right? And then ever since the incident that we had this interaction together, he no longer talks to me. Like, what did I do? Is it my fault? Like, I have to win this contest because I have to meet him again and kind of make things right. And you really see him get super vulnerable. And it's one thing that the show does really well. Like, I'm surprised. It's such a simple concept, And it's not necessarily groundbreaking, but I think it's not necessarily how you use cliches, or maybe it is how you use cliches. It's not the matter of using cliches in storytelling. Cliches are there for a reason, for a reason. These are tools that work in many different story structures. Cliches are fine, but I think it's how you use the cliches and how you make your own interpretation and kind of breathe life into these characters. I think the two actors really do complement each other really well. But there's like the simple moments of them lying into bed with one another that kind of rattle you a little bit and makes you feel kind of broken open. I think when Naga was in like his AI persona and he was in the club with Suminara, and there's that flirting, there's that back and forth banter, like there's a whole sticking the finger down the throat, kind of teasing him like, oh, you're such an innocent, you're so vanilla, I could really corrupt you. There's something really alluring about that. And then also when they were in the nightlife, they were on the roof, and they kind of have that stripped down barrier of vulnerability between the two of them, and you start to see that kind of mask slip, and you see like the real Anaga kind of be revealed through, was really great. I just feel like there's a lot of little intimate moments that the show is able to capture really well that makes a pretty simple story really engaging. So engaging to the point that I actually kind of want to read the manga that the show is based off of and see that if the manga is able to capture that same essence. Of course, because Inaga is hiding his alter ego and identity, there is going to be a dark night of the soul. Like, when Sunara finds out, there's going to be so much angst. I'm not prepared for it, especially because the show, I believe, has like 8 episodes. So they can't spend too much time of them, warring against one another, but I'm not looking forward to it. But I am looking forward to it at the same time, because I feel like the show captures these little pockets of moment of intimacy so well. So I'm really curious as how they're going to demonstrate this. But I just thought the show is super engaging and super fascinating thus far. And I am kind of relieved and happy for it, considering that I haven't really been happy with some of the BL showings as of late, as we go into the end of this year. To be honest, I think I've already picked my favorites for this year, but I'm waiting to more into December to see if there's any surprises. But Punk's Triangle, depending on how they land the plane for this show, might be up there in one of my favorites, because it is such a surprise to me, and I'm actually really, really liking it. Even though Suminara can be kind of not nice to Naga sometimes, like even when he's being vulnerable. But overall, I like the characters, I like their chemistry. I think the show does sensuality really well. I shouldn't find someone sticking a finger down someone's throat as something like sensual, something that can be perceived as romantic. Like, that's pretty damn gross in a real life scenario, but in the context of the show, like, it made all the difference, and it kind of takes your breath away. And as I said, I just like the idea of fashion being as transformative as it is, and how much fashion can break down like so many different character archetypes, how you can slip it on as like a second skin and completely transform yourself into an entirely different person. I just like the concept of that. I love watching like documentaries or anything like that revolves like public figures, and how their sense of style kind of defines them, how it kind of leans into political times, and how it reflects like political tension that might be in society at the time. I just think the world of fashion is interesting, how people use fashion to make as an extension of themselves. I find that all really fascinating. So let me know your thoughts below. Have you been watching Punk's Triangle? What do you think of it? Would that be something you'd be interested in trying? As far as I know, it airs on Gaga Ulala and other sites. If you're watching the YouTube version of this podcast, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. If you're watching or listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts as well, let me know your thoughts. Till the next episode.